isn't about fighting tyranny. It's about profit and control. When countries try to fix the system and nationalize resources to reduce inequalities among their people, they don't just threaten NATO nations' profit. They threaten the very foundation upon which NATO nations were built on, which is maritime piracy. Every time a country stood up for its own people, the United States asked one question: who owns the resources? And if the answer is not the US, the coup is coming. Over 80 foreign governments have been overthrown or destabilized by the United States. And no, most of them were in dictatorship. Many of them were democratically elected governments until they threatened US corporate profits. The playbook is almost the same. A country elects a leader who wants to use their land, oil, and industry for the people, which threatens the profits of the capitalist United States companies and investors. So the CIA steps in, funding opposition groups like the ISIS, the Al-Qaeda, planting stories in the media, and bribing the generals, army rebels, and even collapsing their economy. And the coup replaces the leader with a pro-US dictator military regime. Sometimes it's bloodless, but usually it's always a massacre, resulting in the deaths of millions of civilians, because no country government wants to just hand over their resources without a fight. It is never about democracy. It's about power and control. In Iran in 1953, Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh tried to nationalize his country's oil, which at the time was controlled by the British and the Americans. So the CIA steps in. They launched Operation Ajax. They orchestrated protests, paid off politicians, and installed Shah. The result was 25 years of dictatorship and torture under United States protection. In Guatemala 1954, President Jacobo Arbenz gave land back to the farmers. Land that belongs to the United Fruit Company, a United States corporation. So the CIA branded him a communist. They ran a coup and plunged Guatemala into a civil war that resulted in the death of over 200,000 people. I repeat, 200,000 people. In DRC Congo, not far from Nigeria here, 1961, Lumumba wanted Africans to control African resources. So the CIA helped orchestrated his assassination. And the brutal dictator, Mobutu, his close friend, was used to assassinate him and replace him. And Mobutu was installed and kept in presidency for 32 years to keep the NATO mission in DRC alive. There are dozens of others, like Haiti, Iraq, Libya, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Dominican Republic, Brazil, Bolivia, and beyond. In Libya, 1973, Muammar Gaddafi publicly assassinated on false accusation that he is a dictator just because he was planning to set up an African currency that will unite all African countries backed by gold and regulated by the African Development Bank, which is single-handedly funded its establishment. The greatest development Libya ever had was under Gaddafi regime, and since his assassination in 2011, Libya has pretty been much of a failed state, capped by militias and open slave markets. This isn't about fighting tyranny, it's about profit and control. When countries try to fix the system and nationalize resources to reduce inequalities among their people, they don't just threaten NATO nations' profit, they threaten the very foundation upon which NATO nations were built on, which is maritime piracy. If a country like Libya can flourish, then other countries might follow, so the CIA sabotage it before it can succeed. This is why so many nations don't trust the US and other NATO nations, because they have been the billions and pirates from time immemorial. How they hijack and seize your property will be depending on you. If you surrender easily, it's bloodless. But if you stand your ground, the war is coming. Don't take my word for it. In fact, don't trust me. Just pick a book and read historical patterns. There are books and documentaries they never wanted you to find. Comment books below if you want some.